Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. My first guest tonight, real funny comic, Chistian Finnegan. Welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you so much.
How you
Appreciate
doing, buddy?
it. Thanks.
We're talking the world.
Thanks for referring me as funny. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, I don't throw that term around lightly. I've been talking a little bit about the world of comedy and specials and how crazy it is, and
How they're not that special anymore.
no, they're not special at all. They really are not special.
No.
I mean, I think Comedy Central did like 80 of them this year.
Well, yeah, it is just there are so many different venues for it. I mean, you know, it's fine,
Right.
but you know, I'm sure you grew up with the comedy albums. You know, Bill Cosby himself.
Right,
You have this idea as a
And then
comedian.
that
like
first,
one day
that first Eddie Murphy HBO special was,
Yeah.
it was an event.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
I mean, that's like in my DNA.
Right.
That was because I think HBO only had 5 things to air at that
That's
point.
what I
so they
mean, yeah.
aired it.
And when we started, it still had that mystique of, wow, I'm going to do my special.
Yeah.
And then you talk to a kid, you know, like I have some guys on this show who are younger, funny guys, you know. They say, I've been doing stand-up for 3 years. I'm doing my second special. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Second special in 3 years. And I'm like, well, what happened to me?
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it means 1/10 as much as it did. So
Well, that's exactly.
it all comes out in the wash.
I mean, I honestly, I've been doing stand-up on and off for 25 years, and this will be my third special for 25 years. So it's like, you know, I don't know. A lot of guys though
You're like
have
one of those prestige directors that come, you know, Terrence Malick or something like that.
I'm calling this. I'm thinking about calling it Depression Without Genius. That's going to be the name of it. Yeah. So now you have a special that you taped recently.
Yeah, we taped it in April, and now finally, I mean, it's taken just a few months to get it edited down to 60 minutes. It
Right.
was 76 when we did it. And
Oh, you did?
God forbid, you know, it seems to take longer than it probably should. But now they're going out to try to sell it around, and who knows? There's, like we were just saying, there's like 5 different places. It could be on Netflix, it could be on
Right.
Epix, it could be on Showtime. Who knows?
Are they going to put the other 16 minutes on like extras for the DVD?
I hope so.
'cause
I mean, that's
I
another
did
thing.
that the last time. I did an hour and 27 minutes. I'd been touring for 4 straight years with the same stuff, and I said I'm just going to purge this stuff.
Yeah.
And see how long it was.
Yeah.
So I did an hour 27. Comedy Central with commercials made it an hour, but when the DVD came out, they put out the other stuff on DVD, and you know, people just take their time watching stuff now.
But even now, it's like, even with DVDs, like I'll go on the road and I'll sell DVDs after shows.
Right.
And people look at them like I'm selling Victrolas or something. You know, it's,
I know.
God forbid.
You're
selling
right.
me a physical product, you weirdo.
You're right. No, yeah, some people they just don't understand what the hell you're doing.
Yeah,
You know, it doesn't make any sense. Sometimes I think, I'm talking archaic when I'm talking specials
Yeah.
with my agents and stuff. But
It still means something to me. It still does. Like
Me
the idea
too.
that, like you were saying, burning it and kind of being
Right.
like, all right, I'm pushing this ice flow out. You know,
Right,
like
right.
this is now, I'm moving on to new stuff.
I tell the story about when this show first started. We've been on the radio now for 2 years and TV for a year. And a couple of years ago, when we were first starting, we did Conan O'Brien. And you know, I've been doing Conan.
As opposed to the other Conans, you know, the distinguished Conan O'Brien.
I should have said O'Brien. That's true. He's just Conan. He's first name status. And the most depressing thing happened. There was a young kid in my management company was backstage with me, and I started doing Conan in '96, and that was like a big deal to me, you know, prestigious thing.
Yeah.
And it's a talk show, you know, and eventually you get Letterman and stuff, but he said, this is not a big deal to my generation. This kid, he's about 24 years old. He goes, you would be better off, you would literally be better off plugging something by Ashton Kutcher tweeting it than doing 2 killer 8-minute segments on Conan. Like literally, it would be better to have Ashton Kutcher just go watch the show on Twitter. You know, and that's the world we live in. It's just
I think
different.
that there's a specific difficulty for people between the ages of like 35 and 45.
Right.
Those people who are not old enough to just kind of be above the internet. Like
Right.
not like my dad who's just like, I don't get it. I don't do the internet, blah, blah, blah. And you're not young enough to sort of understand it on a cellular level.
Yeah.
And so it's constantly this awkward thing of
We're in
trying
a
to-
limbo generation
Yeah, yeah,
kind of with that.
yeah.
That's such a good point. You're so right about that because, you don't feel like you're allowed to be that old man without seeming creepy. I don't do that because you're not old enough for that. But yeah, you are old enough to be like, I
just
should know about
constantly
this.
feel like you're behind. Like you're like a goalie who's letting 1 out of every 2 shots get by.
Right, stuff moves so quick, and I guarantee. Look, I'm very happy with my career, I guess, but I mean, if it wasn't for dope and a lack of technology knowledge, I think I'd be way ahead. Because I feel like Dane Cook's an example. Like I like Dane and everything. His comedy's not my cup of tea, but he takes a lot of hits from comics, and sometimes I think it's bull crap on their part.
I think it's at this point. I think leave it alone. At this
right.
point,
Who cares? I mean, the guy was real successful and I think it's a lot of bitterness from other comedians. But I think what happened with him was he was the first guy to really embrace social media.
Yeah.
And you got to hand it to him. I guess he figured out the MySpace thing. I mean, that's how far back it goes. It wasn't Facebook. It was MySpace. So, all of a sudden, he had 10 million friends, and they went to see shows. So he was selling out the Garden. So what am I going to sit in my basement and be bitter about that? The guy kicked ass.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I just kind of have come to the conclusion that there's just certain things that I am not interested or willing to do.
Right.
And if I'm not interested or willing to do them, then I can't really be upset that
exactly.
people who do. So if that's the way you want to live your life, that's great.
Yeah, that's when you cross that line, you really sound like a bitter jerk.
Yeah.
But comedians are, that's all they are.
So that's the hang up that comedians had with Dane Cook, that he somehow created his fans.
Well, there were
a
few hang-ups. I think that he was the first guy to kind of really be accused of at least pushing the marketing angle almost more than the actual material.
More exactly. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, that he was selling himself as a product, which now is very common.
Definitely.
But I think coming out of like the 90s, like I always say that like I am from the dignity generation and I am lost in the hustle generation. That when I was coming up, it's just, and I'm around his age, I'm a year or two younger than him. Just the idea of referring to yourself as a brand, you would be like the villain in a movie.
Yeah,
if
you're
you
right.
Said that.
You're right.
Yeah,
and that's all agents talk about now. In a meeting,
it's all comedians talk about.
Yeah, that's true too. You're right.
So,
and about getting a 7-minute set together to get you on a sitcom and not an hour that's good.
Yeah.
But that's the perfect way to put it. You put marketing ahead of the material. That's
what people accuse.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you could.
But look, the guy still did well over an hour of energetic. Some stuff. I mean,
I tell you,
he would kill. And
when I saw his first half hour on Comedy Central, I didn't enjoy it. It's not for me or whatever.
Right.
But I said that dude's gonna be huge.
He's
I knew it right away.
I had to follow him once at this place in L.A. Did you ever do Dublin's on Sunset Boulevard?
Mm-mm.
Tuesday night they had comedy there upstairs. It was a sports bar the rest of the time, and Dane owned that room. And I was doing the Norm Show sitcom at the time, and I stopped by there, and the guy said, "I can put you up, but you got to go after Dane." And I didn't realize, I wasn't hip to that was a big deal at that point.
Yeah.
I said, well, that's all right, that's fine. And I watched him. He did like an hour and 20 minutes. And by the end of the set, people are like hitting the walls laughing because he's got his shirt off and he's doing a dinosaur with his shirt off. Like he's there with this Jurassic Park bit where, and he's spitting water like, the place, especially like girls are like killing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be horrific. And I walk on stage, he walks off stage, and NSYNC was in the audience.
Of course.
They were in a booth. They were in a booth. So now I get on stage, and as I'm getting on stage, I hear the MC say to Dane, hey, the guys from NSYNC want to say hi to you. And he goes, that's great. So I get on stage. The guy goes, by the way, now here's Artie Lange. Like a matter of fact, I get up. No one's looking at me. Everyone's watching Dane Cook put his shirt on and go over to the guys in NSYNC. Now a photo shoot happens in their booth. Now, like, he's taking a picture with literally Justin Timberlake and him taking a picture, and I'm on stage talking about how my flight sucked.
But isn't that...
I never bombed so bad in my life.
But isn't that the sweet pain of being a comedian? I'm on a big sitcom on television. People are lucky to have me. And then you show up and it's just crickets and tumbleweeds.
Nothing. Yeah, just a shut up, big ass.
Yeah.
You fool. You're right. It was just, literally, it's the worst set I've had, maybe, in my life. Up there. But a little bit of it, I don't know if you could relate to this, it was so bad, it was freeing in a way. Like, I could do whatever I want now. Because no one's listening. No one's listening. They're doing, like, they're taking, they're doing, like, the signs. And I'm like, anyway, guys, I was sweating a lot on the...
I remember there used to be a bar show in the East Village that for a while was called Meltdown Comedy because it was just so bad that comedians would have meltdowns all the time.
Really? God, I'm mad I never heard of that.
It was only around for maybe 6 months or something, but
Right.
It was in this bar where it was like during the summer, and so all these sort of NYU finance interns were staying at a dorm right next door, and so it just became like a frat place after
Right.
about 6 o'clock.
Right.
And so there was no door between where the comedy show was and where the bar was. It was just a constant din.
Wow.
And it got so awful. And I remember one time Neil Brennan, and he's not a very
Tolerant.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, he doesn't start screaming. He's a pretty low key.
Very
dude.
low key.
He was so annoyed that he put his headphones on and just started dancing, just silently to whatever was playing. I think it was White Lines was playing on his headphones. And miraculously, all of a sudden, people stopped talking.
They were looking
and
at
started
him.
looking at him like, "What is going?" Like sometimes just the silence. Like, okay, this is something weird going on here.
One time I was bombing, so I started bombing so bad. Super Bowl Eve at the Hard Rock in Vegas. Everyone was, it was a Saturday night show, Super Bowl Eve. And people there had started doing crystal meth in St. Louis that Tuesday. And that's what it seemed like. They were up for 5 days tweaked. And they were screaming at me. No one was listening to me. I started bombing so bad. Eventually, I had to do 45 minutes, was in my contract, to get the money.
Yeah.
And I looked at my watch. I was 28 minutes in, and I had lost the crowd. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I just started singing the American Trillia, the Battle Hymn of the Republic by Elvis. Like, oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton. I dragged that out for 17 minutes. And by the end, they were singing it with me. And I just walked off stage like massive boos. And the next day, the critic in the Las Vegas Review Journal was like, ladies and gentlemen, I saw the worst comedy show I've ever seen. Mr. Lange had no care for the audience, started singing Elvis, and may I say, the fat Elvis.
Hilarious.
Yeah, so anyway. All right, we got to take a break. Chistian Finnegan, what are you plugging? Anything?
Well, I mean, the DVD's not out yet, but
Right.
I'll be in Tampa at the Tampa Improv August 22nd and 25th.
Tampa Improv, August 22nd and 25th, and he'll be back on this show right now, so stick around.